Hello. This is going to be one of those videos that I don't do often enough, in which I don't do them like this because I don't trust myself that I can actually start talking without having prepared what I'm going to say, and just to trust in whatever comes to my mind seems to be perhaps a lack of respect for you. I think I should at least prepare what I'm going to say. But there are times when preparing it beforehand takes away something. I don't know quite what. Perhaps my willingness to connect with you, some spontaneity, something like that. I don't know. I have been today, the whole day, I have been reading a book, a very, very long book, which I chose specifically to see whether it could help me figure out what is happening in the world today. I went to that book, which I read a long time ago, perhaps 20 years ago. I could remember the plot, but I remember being very impressed about the writer, but I didn't remember it very well. And I went to it because I saw 2 or 3 very short videos first thing in the morning while I was making my coffee. And one of them of a channel that I do trust. They are serious. They have long analysis, long form for about an hour, 2, sometimes 3, talking about the world today. Serious historians and so on. And they were talking about what had happened in Gaza in the last 48 hours. One of them was saying that he saw some videos. He says, I hope not very many people see them because they're just very, very distressing, of people actually sort of burning alive and that kind of thing. I don't want to watch those videos myself. They didn't show it. They were talking about it. Then in another video, I see that, a very short one, I see that Nikki Haley, who was running for president in the United States, was in Israel, and apparently she was signing some missiles, finished them off. America loves Israel, always. So it wasn't just the some citizens in Israel that are signing off the bombs that are threatened. I thought, what is going on? What has happened? It seems so as if we are seeing, where do these people come from? Under which rock were they hiding? Because the amount of hatred and the rancor, and this is almost pre-Diluvian. This is pre-Homer. Anyway, The book I was reading, just in case if you happen to read it, think about the dehumanization that is going on in the world today. Well, it has been going on for a while, hasn't it? But we have reached that point. The book is by a Portuguese. It is translated in English, actually, but I read it. It's a Portuguese writer, José Saramago. He's a Nobel Prize of Literature in 1998 because of this book, well, and the others that he had written. He was born in 1922 and he died in 2010. And this is a book about blindness as a metaphor, an allegory for what is happening. He wrote it in 1995, and he could. It looks as if he could see everything that we are now experiencing. Great thinkers can do that, don't they? With the prophets, as it were. They see what's coming. They can see far ahead of us. And it's about dehumanization. He uses, as many writers have done, blindness as an example. Physical blindness to signify moral blindness, as you can imagine. And let me tell you the story a little bit. It's a pandemic. About everyone is getting blind. It starts with a man who's driving the car. He's waiting at the red light, and then comes the green, and he doesn't move, and everyone, all the other drivers, are shouting at him, and big traffic congestion that he's provoking there. And they're all shouting at him. Some of them come up and they see him, and he's actually saying something, and they can't figure out what it is. And then he finally managed to tell them, brings the window down, rolls the window down, and says, "I can't see." "What do you mean you can't see?" "I can't see, I'm blind." So everyone gathers round, and they're trying to help the car, move the car somewhere else, and he says, "I can't see." Everything is not black, which is supposed to be when you're blind or you can't see. There is a blackness there. This one is white. Everything is white. And people, and there is a woman there saying, "Oh, you poor thing, so do you know where you live?" Anyway, someone says, "I'll help him, I'll take him home. I'll drive his car and I'll take him home." And he does, this good Samaritan, and then they arrive. It's he goes into great details about what happens, but they arrive, and he says, "Well, let me go with you up to your home. I just want to make sure you're okay." And he says, No, I'll be fine now. I know my way." Deep inside, he didn't trust him. He said, "Well, I know he helped me, but I don't want to get a stranger into my own home." So anyway, he goes by himself, and he sits down, and he's blind. And he waits there for his wife. She arrives. She cannot believe it. Anyway, she manages to get on the telephone and talk to the doctor to see him urgently. He goes to the doctor. There are people waiting there with different eye problems. And okay, this is an emergency, so the oculist, does an examination, and there is nothing wrong there. He examines every part of the eye. He can't see anything wrong. There are other people waiting. Anyway, cut long story short, the doctor comes home that day. He says to his wife, a very strange thing. I've never heard of this, a case like this. And he explained what the guy told him. He says that everything is white. That is not, I don't know of any case in the literature where when you're blind everything is white. It's supposed to be black. Anyway, he goes to his books in his library, and the last thing he remembers is seeing his hands, and then he becomes blind. And then the people there who were waiting to be seen, whom he treated that particular day, then one after the other, they all become blind. It's an epidemic. The doctor tries to call the Ministry of Health. This is happening. I heard that other people too now, and the government says, well, what do you mean there is an epidemic? He says, yes, well, anyway. Eventually, it is contagious. Okay. What the government does is to try to, because it is a pandemic, to try and take all these people who are becoming blind and put them all together, quarantine in a place they don't know. Where shall we send them? Eventually they find a place who used to be a hospital for the insane, and they put them all there. And there are guards outside. And they say, well, you cannot come in because it's infectious. Okay? And everyone, even the guards, are becoming infected. And it started with about 8 people. And now in the same place there are about 240. Anyway, they put the food under the doors, and none of them can see, so they don't know where the toilets are. The whole thing becomes an absolute mess. And then there are so many of them that they can't all be all in one room. Obviously, the asylum had many rooms, and so the people who are arriving, and they're all going to a different room from the protagonists, the first ones. They become the bullies of everything. They amongst them there is one who was naturally blind. He had become blind. He was born blind, something like that. So he knew how to manage things. He hadn't been infected, okay? And so he can find his way about well and so on. Anyway, they become the bullies. They get all the food. They tell the others that even though the food is, for each room for 20 people, they only give them food for 5, and they keep the rest. They are abusing everybody else. They are exercising power over everybody else and creating fear, because one of them has a gun, and from time to time he shoots the gun on them. Silly. And then one day they come and say, we are the ones who are going to partition the food, what goes where. And if you want us to give you your share of food, you must give us all the possessions that you have, the rings and if you have money, whatever it is that you have that's worth anything, put it all in a bag. And we want it, and bring it to us, and make sure that you don't forget anything, because we'll come and check. We are experienced at this, and we can find things. We'll be able to find things if you have hidden anything. And so we see these people representing society, becoming afraid. The way he describes it is, as the reader, you say, the others were blind too. Why didn't they do something? No. Fear takes over because of the gun, because their aggressive disposition. And they do that. And they start obeying orders. And they put all their possessions and they give it to them. And the next day they come with something else. They say, well, just make sure that you gave us everything, but now we're going to want all your women here. The women, there is a discussion. The women don't want to go. The men are feeling guilty. It's a long book. They finally go. With all this, the only exception is that there is a person there who can see. It's the doctor's wife. She decided when they came for him in an ambulance to take him to that place. She decided that she was going to go with him, and he said, "No, otherwise you'll catch it too." And she said, "No, I don't care. I'll go with you." And she is the only person who can see, but she's not sure about telling everybody else that she can see. So she keeps it a secret. But nevertheless, she is helping everyone to where the toilets are, to where this is, to where the other thing, all the time pretending to be blind like everybody else, and she comes up with all sorts of excuses and so on, that she had been there before, that she knew the place, all these sort of things. Anyway, after this, what happened to the women, she goes to a little suitcase that she had brought along, and finds that she actually has some scissors there. Anyway, she decides that she's going to kill the leader, this horrid person that is the leader, really, of all of them, of all the bullies. And she does. Eventually, another woman remembers that she has a lighter in her purse and manages to go to where the bullies are, and with a blanket and so on, sets the whole place on fire. They all get killed, and the others manage to escape little by little. When they go outside, they see that there are no soldiers, who were extremely harsh with them when they said, there are 20 of us here and you're only sending food for 10. Shut up. They didn't care. They just wanted them to die. And they find that there are no longer any soldiers outside. The whole city had become blind. There are dead people everywhere. There is no food. Everything has been taken. And so on. Spoiler. It's not really a spoiler because you have to actually read the book to see how magnificent it is. But yes, at the end, one by one of the first 10 people can see. I can see. Anyway, that's the plot. If you can read this essay, it's called an essay on blindness. The author himself said that, as I said, this is in 1995, and he says that there are, in an interview, not necessarily about this book, but about his works, he said that he sees 3 main evils in modern man. The absence of communication and of empathy between human beings. We have lost that trust. We have become isolated from one another. As one technological a technological revolution, which he saw in 1995 already, sort of coming on with the advent of computers at that time, you remember? And a life centered solely on personal success. And all these things together are destroying humanity. And all these things will make us eventually not defend life, but we will destroy it. We will destroy humanity. That is where we're going. This book is about a lot of things, but it's about desperation, the ugliness of desperation, the law of and the abuse of the strongest in society. He said that with this work he wanted to unmask the rottenness of society, the society in which we live, which he believes is rotten in the inside because we have lost our humanity. The lack of empathy, and so I wrote a little note here. Let me see if I find it. The incapacity of human beings to acknowledge or to empathize with others. When that happens, you are blind. You're blind to your own humanity. You may think that because you're pursuing your own success and your own well-being and so on, you may think that others will bring you down, so you will rebel in you being independent and not needing anyone. In fact, you are becoming, by that process, vile, he says, abominable. You may think that you're becoming independent, he says, but you're actually becoming a creature that is going to need the guidance of others to understand and to survive. What you think is independence is actually going to make you very dependent indeed, because you are unable to identify humanity in others, you have to read this book. I will put the name of the author there in the description. I would like to be able to tell you a little bit more. But anyway, so to recap, this is about a book about a pandemic, how government responds with quarantines and violence, even rules, very strict rules and regulations. If any of you dies, you are the one who has to bury them. We cannot come inside and so on. So there is a white cloud blindness. And what you find in that, what used to be an asylum, is that the blind men have to become aware and confront what is perhaps the most primitive in ourselves, how to survive at any price. And you're going to see humanity like the Lord of the Flies in a certain way, but you're going to see humanity degenerating more and more. There is only the doctor's wife who's helping. Everybody else is just disintegrating into most terrible circumstances. And it's a parable about human beings. And you're going to see perhaps the most sublime and the most miserable of which we are capable. I only want to say that there are some novels that after you read them, they continue to, you finish the book, and this is why I'm kind of still a little bit taken aback, because even after you read them, they continue to be there at the back of your mind. They continue to open, as it were, tunnels in your conscious, that rooms in your conscious that we didn't know were there. This is about the best and the worst and how we're going to survive. Because at the end they recover their sight. This is the question. Let's say that there is a war, a terrible war in the world at the moment, okay? And we're all blind, as it were. After that war, or after we recover our sight, have we learned anything? How would we change, if at all? That's the question. I hope you can get hold of it. It is translated in English, and it is José Saramago, an essay on blindness. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.